And the river still shines and shimmers in the light as it did in our grandfather's day, when they rode all night to fish in the morning and lived in Willapa Bay.
All right, it's 8. For those of you who just joined us, please silence or turn off or put your phones on vibrate. Everybody else did great, so you all have something to live up to.
You guys are killing it as an audience, by the way, tonight.
100%.
Fantastic job.
100%.
Amazing.
Keep the compliments coming. The Oracle card from the Back Deck Oracle by the people that brought us Bristol Baby Zine is the seal. So it's a blue and indigo sea with the traditional seal head popping up.
It's
And-
quite silky looking, really.
Sure.
Yeah. The seal happens to be the greenhorn card.
Oh.
It presents you with predicaments that test your ego and your patience. But try not to tumble into a spiral. Your task now is to admit what you don't know. But don't let that dim your enthusiasm. The playful seal pops up to remind you to be humble, to have humor, and sometimes there is strength in playing the fool.
Which brings us to our next performer. I always think of Dave Densmore as playful.
But certainly not a greenhorn.
Never. Actually, I think came out in a little tiny canoe
Yeah.
that he then continued to outgrow. I've had the pleasure of sharing the stage with Dave in the East Coast and here, and he has been showing up with his notebook of poems. We both fished out of Larson Bay. We have now got 3 Kodiak legends on the stage. And Dave is so well known that my friends who have never been on a fishing boat and are vegan are like, tell me the one about the raspberry ice cream. So, welcome, Dave Densmore, the legendary.
What's that?
Got a good height for you?
Yeah, that's fine. Good evening. This first poem I wrote, let's see, when did I write it? Not very long ago. Well, I guess I wrote last fall or last summer sometime, but you know, we in commercial fishing, my profession, it's not an industry to me, it's a profession, is got a lot of trouble now. There's a lot of guys falling by the wayside, but there's some of us that we'll live and die by fish prices and by tide. And there's people that fish and there's fishermen to the core. Sometimes one tends to flounder when you're blocked on every turn. You wonder if the ones who left knew something you refused to learn. Like the guy who went to tugs. Boy, his four-wheel drive is nice. Well, every trip in your old truck's a venture on thin ice. Or the guy who now works the mill, just built a new house last year. Your old house needs a new roof, but damn, you got to buy new gear. And as the icy driving rain finds its way beneath your oilskins for another cold, wet day, you think of a friend snug in a warm teaching job who said he just couldn't afford to stay. Well, can't really blame him for pulling out. There's so many chaotic management schemes around. Some just want stability in their lives with incomes predictable and sound. But can't help but see the look in their eye, though they say with a big brave grin, I'm doing fine with lots of dough. But yeah, I'm a ex-fisherman. So you keep grinding on at peace with yourself, though your fortunes run hot and cold, because you're not about to give up an essential part of your soul. So you may at times seem to flounder when high expectations turn out to actually be quite poor. Just keep the faith and hold your pride, because you're a fisherman to the core. Thank you. I've fished pretty much all my life, and I bought my first boat when I was 13 out of Falls Pass. I was running king crab boat by the time I was 23. The superintendent told me at the time I was the youngest king crab skipper in the Bering Sea, and I still had a lot to learn, but I pulled it off, I guess. But I'll tell you a funny story about that. When I was 12, I was running power skiff out of Alatak, south end of Kodiak, and the boats we had then were small and real primitive, rough. They're all just little native boats. There was nothing fancy. There wasn't much fish around those days. And sitting in a skiff one day, and this big, beautiful, white, trimmed in Norwegian green piece of heaven come by. It looked like it was about 200 foot. It was 80 feet, but it was huge. And I sit there in my little cracker box skiff on the end of the net, wet and cold, and looking at that boat thinking, I wonder who's on there. I wonder if they're angels. A boat that beautiful, it can't be mere human being men. That was when I was 12. 23, I was running that boat in the Bering Sea. Anyway, it's been a damn good run. It's been a good life. I've seen some ups and downs, and so I wrote this little poem. It's called Heaven and Hell. Well, I've seen both sides of what life has to offer. From a fisherman's perspective, it's true. But it doesn't seem there's a whole lot of difference in what life offers to me or to you. On the surface, things may seem different, but think of your personal highs and lows, the emotions and feelings in your own life, and the analogy you will know. Heaven's weather, calm and sunny, with a fishing pace real fast, grinning crew and boat a unit, occasionally hearing someone laugh. Or just a special lady for a crew who's tuned to fishing ways, sharing those soft oceanic nights and hard driving fishing days. Yep, that's a little slice of heaven. Probably as close as I'll ever be. But when it comes complete with an angel, that's close enough for me. Hell is divorce and alienation, such a slippery downward slide. Seemed I'd never regain my feet, no matter how hard I tried. Or being so stoned on life and watching time slipping too damn quickly away. Sometimes it seems for every hour of happy, there's always heavy dues to pay. Like searching the cold Alaskan waters for the body of my precious son. I knew right then and there my dreams had just come undone. I may not yet have been to hell, but I can tell you all for sure, I stood there at its portal, looking through its open door. I try to tell myself it's all just life, and though at times it can be hard, guess there's always dues to pay if one wants to live at large. And living large is the only way I've tried to taste it all, whether riding high and mighty or taking a nasty fall, whether loving full or feeling pain that you can hardly stand. At least you know you're completely alive and still standing as a man. The secret seems to be never give in, even when all you have left is pride. Lose your pride, there's nothing left. Might as well have just died. My dad used to say, when at the end of your rope, just tie a knot and hang right on. Keep the faith and hang right in there, because a Good times will be back along. Sometimes one tires of the struggle and craves to simply coast along for a spell. But the troubles just make it so much sweeter when you're back to doing well. Guess I'm talking mostly to myself as I spout this bit of philosophy, because I've found my greatest enemy and ally is in fact actually just me. Thank you. Anyway, I've been a commercial fisherman all my life, as I said, and I wouldn't trade my life with its ups and downs, wins and losses for any other. And so maybe this kind of explains the pride a little bit. Commercial fisherman. So he tells you he's a commercial fisherman. You say unknowingly, oh, that's nice. But what you may not understand, that pride comes with a very high price. He may speak of 20-foot seas or a boat that nearly went down, but you seldom see the sense of loss at memories of close friends gone or drowned. Or you may think perhaps the stories are stretched a bit for drama's sake, but his scars and the look in his eyes are impossible to fake. There may be one or more divorces. Long absence means some things are hard to keep. So it may be shrugged off with a joke or a curse. Still the pain runs mighty deep. Balancing the books against high overhead and lower prices seems his efforts are worth less all the time. The bank cares not about sleepless nights or flying spray or icy rime. The thoughts of all the family time he's missed as his children grew with just memories of a father mostly gone, fishing, working as far off distant seas. 2 short nights in narrow bunks, forcing tired muscles back to work. No excuse to shirk. Some need booze or pot or a woman in every port to help blot out the pain and fears. But just keep the faith and keep on fishing has carried me through my share of heartache and tears. You probably won't hear much about the camaraderie, men sharing a hard, dangerous way of life, or the deep satisfaction and joy of a good haul. We're misfits in the world of 8-to-5 strife. So why would anybody want to do it? I guess there's many reasons why some try, but for us true fishermen, it's simply a calling. There is no simple reason why. So when he tells you he's a commercial fisherman, and you respond so unknowingly, oh, that sounds so nice, please understand that here stands a man who has somehow, sometime, paid a mighty high price. Thank you. That's to all my brothers and sisters that are out there. This last one I wrote a couple years ago. I was shocked at the number on my driver's license. So I had to set things right, goddammit. It's called Long Traveled Man. I'm refusing to grow old. I'm just a young man that's traveled far. At times I've danced with the devil who sent his demons with me to spar. Yeah, I've been down some rocky roads, only saved from disaster by amazing grace. And the ever-present knowledge that in the end, it'd be myself I'd have to face. Oh, there's been success and heartache. I've seen both the high and the low. Been times I wished I could forever stay, and other times I couldn't wait to go. The trail of life stretches long behind and grows ever shorter out ahead. But I'll not change the way I am, 'cause old is a number, someone said. The body may be wearing out, and time's left its scars upon my face, but the spirit of youth burns on. Some things time just can't erase. No, there's really no difference between 70 and 30. Why is there a magic number when lusty becomes obscene and dirty? Now, I can't really feel any different, except now more aware of what it takes to actually find the peace and joy and the difference simply pleasing others makes. You have fast cars and pretty women, roaring bikes and rock and roll. Where's the rule says I must forget and stop and grow gracefully old? Bullshit. I'm not an old man trying to recapture that feeling of being forever young. No, I'm just a long-traveled man doing what I've always done. So if I dive into some adventure that seems I'm chasing a distant star, well, I'm just that self-same man that is simply now traveled far. Thank you.
Dave Densmore. I like the power of his words. He always paid me the biggest compliments when I would read, and he would say, "You make me homesick, Mo." Writing about Larsen Bay. Our next, I just want to say, how many people know the experience of sitting waiting to deliver and having a tender drive up? Or driving up on a tender? We got 1, 2, we got a few, not many of you. So a tender is our connection to the shore. They take our fish, they weigh our fish. Once we give them to them, they're responsible for them. They keep them cold. They give us groceries. They used to give us the weather before there was internet. They would flirt. That you could get on board and use their bathroom sometimes. Sometimes they would let you use their very strong hose. They are someone else to talk to. Skippers can go over there and complain about the crew. Very important. So I just want to say, yeah, well, I was working on a tender when every delivery you got a 6-pack of Rainier, vitamin R. And I will say that Coyote Bowers he made 2 6-fish deliveries a day. 1 fish for 1 beer up inside Packer's Spit. We had to tell him that wasn't okay after a while, but we were like, there's just so much beer on the boat. And they're like, yeah, but think of the children that Coyote is babysitting. So imagine, if you will, you're waiting to deliver, and Mariah Warren comes up to take your fish.
Oh, I think so. I'm short, but this might get short also. I also spent a lot of years in a lot of fisheries delivering to tenders before I became a tender captain, and so always really appreciated getting to fill that role in the fisheries. Thank you, Mo. The first piece I'm going to read, I suppose, was the first piece of fisher poetry I ever wrote, because it was the first year I was a fisherman. I wrote it for my captain on the event of her birthday, or trolling, and I called it Ode to Cheng, a sonnet in the Shakespearean form. When wayward breezes whisper words of spring, and freedom calls my wandering heart to rove, I put to sea on the merry Madam Cheng, a pirate ship that sails from Elfin Cove. The pirate queen who flies beneath her wing pulls plunder from the silver salmon runs. She's married to the blue-eyed salmon king, and on the sea they've raised 2 pirate sons. Long after folks of weaker stuff run home, she charges in where sporties fear to tread. With great aplomb, she roams where combers foam and finds the fish and bops them on the head. I'm proud to be her scurvy sea dog crew. Dear Deborah, can I grow up just like you? The second one I wrote for my friends Glenn and Christine on the event of their marriage. I had gotten to know them when he was commercially diving on a boat I was working on, and she came aboard as his topside tender, the person who, tries to keep the divers alive. So, then they got married. I called it Love Me Tender. When Glenn and Christine set to sea, intrepid and in love, he was her dauntless diver darling, she his tender topside dove. And through the vagaries of life afloat, with storms and dirty socks, and only grumpy muffled roars from Glenn's communication box, through wind and sleet and blinding hail, it could not be denied. Through all we do, she always knew her place was on Glenn's side. She came to comprehend our friend, each aspect of his charm, and yet, despite the means and motive, she never did him harm. Today we see the revelry, our dearest groom and bride, and celebrate one knot, at least, most elegantly tied. A blessing for the plucky pair, and this is how it goes. May he always mind the calms, and may she never kink his hose. This one was on the Albacore grounds. I fished with Heather Sears on a boat called the Princess. She ran an all-women crew. We sometimes called the boat Girl Island. And then our running partners ran a boat, our running partners and my Captain Heather's boyfriend ran a boat called the Island Girl. And so I wrote this for them and called it From Girl Island to the Island Girl, a rhapsodic reverie. So Heather turned the wheel west. She smiled with a sigh. I won't lie, the guy has me impressed. The ocean here is lonely, and I miss that voice. I've made my choice. The static and the silence are too strange. We'll run until we're within range of the Island Girl boys. Down below the blowing seafoam, you can hear a fearful noise and a tune, all in the tone a supplicant employs. We're more than merely nervous. They aim to cook and serve us, freeze and thaw, and then hors d'oeuvre us. And we know that they deserve us, but Poseidon, please preserve us from those vicious and bloodthirsty killer Island Girl boys. No attributing this to our siren wiles or any wishes we may have to learn your hot spots or get lucky with the fishes. But we fawn upon your prowess so and envy your cool poise. Ambassadors to Tuna Town, we know you merely say, renounce the briny deep for the briny hold, come join the fold. And the fish don't have a choice. They must obey the Island Girl boys. No others could equate. You are the true masters of bait. You debonair and dashing, gap hook wielding and throat slashing, dangerous yet rather cuddly, artsy craftsy and quite studly, connoisseurs of the sea's fine piscine joys, you Island Girl boys. Please don't die at sea, my friends. Life always ends, but it doesn't have to yet. There must be better reasons than for just one more set. Consider factors such as wind speed, duration, and fetch. Consider, if you die today, how many fish you'll never have the chance to catch. Please don't die at sea, my dears. Tell the story someday instead, over burgers and beers, about the time the storm called your name and you chickened out. The kids are listening. Those are the times they need to hear about. Remember your heroes, those storm-gray, bright-eyed women and Poseidon-bearded men? I know we all do. Please survive, so someday you can be a grouchy, salt-encrusted, wise, and inspiring old-timer too. Please don't die at sea, my loves, when rigging screams and the breakers roar, and you know it should be the last set, and someone suggests just one more. Think of your loved ones. Think of me. Please don't die at sea. Bill and Billy showed up in the bay on a bright yellow cruiser named the Zoomy. Bill was tall and lean and wore an old wool sweater with holes, his extra tufts patched with dingy glue. He was quiet and circumspect, smiling shyly through a deep tangle of beard, mostly with his eyes. He said his wife started drinking hard and hitting Billy, so it was time to go. Billy was 5, always hugging his dad's skinny leg as together they closely watched the world. We took them in from the beginning, played with Billy in the dirt of the yard, washed his face, pushed him on the rope swing. He never spoke of his mother that I recall. Bill Tyler didn't speak much of the past. He melded into Edna Bay life as much as anyone could, a jumbled handful of misfits finding their place at the far edge of the world, the fringes of society, the gray or blue of the Pacific, just through a few small islands to the west, and beyond that, nothing of dirt till Japan. It was the kind of place where no one asked too many questions, but most folks thrived on guessing. My dad showed him purple shamrock growing in our yard, said it was supposed to be lucky, and Bill said he didn't believe in luck anymore, though maybe he still believed in love. I pondered those two concepts, pushing Billy on the rope swing, trying to decide which was more dangerous to believe in, which more demonstrably false or true. We were caught up in a square dancing craze the year I was 12, turning 13, the year Bill and Billy came to town. Half the community showed up, and twice a week through the fall and winter months, rallying to dubbed cassette tape bands, stomping the floor of a rickety shop Jack Rogers built next to his sawmill out of rough-cut planks. 4 couples to form a square, and occasionally we had enough for 2. It was the most social our little fishing town had ever been, the most in sync, while the moment lasted. Bill was alone, and I had no partner, so we got paired a lot. He was a good dancer, understated but quick in his patched shuffling boots, warm calluses of working hands, curls mopped under a stocking cap, chuckling behind his round glasses. Allemande left, Allemande right, back to your partner, grand square. The little kids played together in a corner, making up stories of their own. Bill toured us around the Zoomy once, a lean wooden hull, not designed for fishing, but for some other time and place where folks cruised sheltered inlets, just for fun. He said that boats were 4-dimensional, larger on the inside than the outside, and the Zoomy more so than most. I've thought of that ever since, spanning the carapace of planks and fair curves with my mind's eye, then stepping inside to find that extra dimension. I quote Bill Tyler, wanting to give fair credit, wondering who all remembers him anymore. After he was gone, the Zoomy stayed too long tied to the outside dock and sank at least once before getting towed off to deep water or some quiet cove. Bright yellow splinters at the high tide line somewhere, faded now by the years. Bill was a chill guy and strong, the deckhand everyone needed. He left Billy ashore with the square dancing family and trolled a bit before the dive fisheries found him, the kind of guy you'd want topside, making sure the anchor held and the air kept flowing. December 13th, 16 years later, somewhere outside Hecata Island, where the ocean rolls in and stacks up on the reefs, I clawed in blackness for the top of the ladder. The world lay on its beam ends, taking breakers fully over, silver glint in the running lights of the cabin top lockbox with the survival suits. The boat screamed. There wasn't time for thinking, but I had a flash then of Bill and his harvest divers, lost off Doll Head, where the ocean rolls in and stacks up on the reefs. Nothing found but a tote lid and an oil slick, and we had a moment, Bill Tyler and I. Just another guy you could trust with your air supply, trying to keep the diver dudes safe and make it home when the long trip's over. A boat's four-dimensional, and you can get lost in there, folded into the fabric of memories and places that don't exist anymore. One day you may duck through some battered companionway, slip into unfamiliar realms, and never find your way back out. I still dream of the equity sometimes, rising from the breakers where we left her that December night, broad decks shining again, and her rigging strong. A boat to her crew is everything. She's a friend. She is home. She is the breath you hold in your lungs when you dream of drowning. How do you let go when there is nothing else but the cold ocean? Maybe luck gets rolled up like a survival suit, arms wrapped around its knees, pushed away somewhere inaccessibly deep. Maybe love is a life raft, origami folded in patient darkness, waiting for its moment to be deployed. Just because it couldn't save you doesn't mean it wasn't there. The chasm between who survives and who is lost opens up in a moment, a corroded zipper splitting between the life you left behind and final moments in a winter ocean, between loved ones back home and the person they'll remember as the years slip by. I clung to the top of the ladder, braced between one sock foot and one extra tough, pulled on in the only time I had, the phrase in my mind, to die with your boots on, and launched myself toward the suits. Thank you. Thank you.
Can we just take a skill inventory? That was high. Mariah Warren, just to remind you all, has been a troller and a longliner and a seiner and a commercial dive harvest operator and a captain of a tender and controls many prose and poetic forms and meters. One more time for Mariah Warren, please. And speaking of poetic forms, I'm really excited to invite a remarkable poet to the stage, one of my favorite performers. Steve Schoonmaker is from Kasilof, Alaska, has spent 40 years fishing commercially and is currently fishing out of Cordova, drift gill netting for salmon. And you know what? This is his 15th year at the FisherPoets Gathering. So let's welcome Steve, please.
Wow, what a theater, huh? Man. Well, in the context of what Mo was saying earlier, you might understand when I say a few years ago, Mariah was my Tinder woman. She took my fish. I fish out of Cordova, like she mentioned, and in the springtime, in the early part of the season, we fish on the Copper River Flats. You know, it's a big delta, and then the ocean out front. That's a time when we can get kings, too. You know, it's getting harder, but that's the king time, and this poem is about during that time. It's called Chrome. Listen to the rhymes of the mountains, to the shine off the sea, to the blue ocean's breath, to the clouds in the breeze. Listen to the color of the sky, to its wet, to its dry, to the gulls soaring by. Listen, try, to the colors of the sea, to that color change, plea. Oh, I may be nuts, but with my guts, I'm listening to the rips running free. Listen to see where my net should be, straining the sea for $1, gilled at the collar, wild as a squall, or something much smaller, still wild in me. Yeah, that's when I see. Brown against blue, Pacific meets slough, Copper River runs through. Mountains wide on a scenic side, splitting the view, calling them through the new morning's pink, through the ground swell's brink, breaking in two, surf, thumping, lumping in from the blue. Chrome spotted things, Grass Island kings come to renew. Oh, the shoreboards sing too when your instincts bring you. Shh, sand at your keel, goes the net off the reel. Feel the breeze off the flats, your town pressure's slack, your predator's knack. Listen to the corks as they clack. You're back, fishing, listen, roam, beach rolling foam like a king. So led to this set, wound in the net, bound for a jet's roaring drone. Slapping tails to vapor trails, so nearly home. Killed for the buyer, grilled on the fire. Chrome, so juicy with fat, stopped where you're at. Listening, yeah, listening for which way to roam. Chrome. It's a very special salmon, the king salmon. Well, I got another one. It's, as you might guess, it's a fishing poem. It's about fishing people. You know, and it's not just fishing people. It's people who experience the ocean, you know, coastal people. It's called Who Can Say? Who can say what starts and ends? Who can say what all depends on weather's winds and rivers' bends? On time that tests what's going to break or bend? Who can say what roots the seed, pulling us out from the land's safety? Learning to stand at a bended knee, bracing the pound of a living sea. Oh yeah, simply feeling what fear can bring. To live in life is such a tiny thing. Got no flukes or fins or seagull wings. Upon an ocean so uncaring of what survives, but everything. Who can say but you and me? Filling our lungs with that ocean breeze, and it's reaching our brains in such braided streams for thoughts to kill, to meet our needs. With our land-born mammals' tendencies so evolved, yet still bound to the sea. I'm talking about you and me. Who can say what those herons see? Yeah, if salmon dream like you and me. Maybe of orcas spray, or of sea lion teeth, or of natal streams and spawns release, or our seines and our gill nets and our gerties turn. Our crab lights glare like our engines burn, but who can say what us humans learn and how to catch and how to earn? Well, who can say but you and me? Filling our lungs with that ocean breeze, and it's reaching our brains in such braided streams with blood that's red, just like our fisheries. Oh, the simple truths like some food to eat. Who can say but you and me? Working the tide as life competes from outer space to some city street, to a marketplace so beyond the breeze, where fishing people are meeting the needs with their land-born mammals' deficiencies. Got hands and fingers, not sea lion teeth. Who can say but you and me? Maybe not buyers or brokers or their companies, but really most of the people on the street with normal lives lived annually apart from risk like you and me. Who can say but you and me? Maybe we'll face some winters sort of hard and lean when the summer runs leave vacancies in our nets and our holes and our mouths to feed. Yeah, but who can say but you and me? The kind with boats that the wild salmon meet, where spacious blue horizons greet each life and death like one complete. A mortal man where some fish should be, out there sensing unknown secrecies, just trying to make a living, straining the sea for a gillnet or a seine or some other means. Who can say but you and me? Filling our lungs with that ocean breeze, just reaching our brains to such brave streams for thoughts to kill to feel our needs. While we're learning to stand at a bended knee, bracing a pound of a living sea, where life and death is simply one complete. Who could say but you and me? Who can say? Thanks. Well, this next one, it's semi-autobiographical. I started in Kodiak too, first on a crab boat in the early 80s. And then I started coming to Fisher Poets, and I started writing poetry. And I thought, ooh, I could connect all that right to here. And it's called Out Within. Out within the ocean's moods, in within a dawning, pounding docks, wet Kodiak with a misty future spawning. All the barroom fish job trawling. Oh, in the wasted wise, so romanticized. I could hear what has been calling. Well, I could hear what has been calling out rusty speakers blare, like megaphones in captain's tones speak salty diesel air. Hydraulics groan and engines drone to decades of disrepair. Crab block soundtracks the wear. In the coils of the line, in the life on the brine, in the shine of the wet rusted layers, in the grind of the 10% shares. Well, I could hear what has been calling in rolling stones. In George Thorogood's set tones, but bad to the bones, with Marley and Skinnerd and Dire Straits gold, cassette tapes and joints and decks awash rolled. Over those minor chord moods of the crabs in the hold. Yeah, stacked and still live and a way to be sold to the beats of the rock and the prop pushing load. Well, I could hear what had been calling. Long lining the briny cold, in the hooks the surface showed, in the bait that turned to gold. Cash cold as my hands steady doling out poke ice to halibut, to that faint rock and rollin', below that herring bait, chopped man calling the load in. Layered in ice to the tops of the hold bins, breaking the cast of the greenhorn hands of moldings, worn tired and cold to the wet breaths of mornings. Well, I could hear what had been calling from Mother Nature's lips, from those eagles on the spit, from their perfect feathers off the beach and their cackling wisdom tips. In the driftwood camps of hippies and the salmon seining trips, in the let her go, in the plunge, in the close, in the laughs of the quick with the wit, in the bites of the round hauling bit. Man, I could hear what had been calling in the tow line of the skiff, in the squealing of that power block to a faint Mark Knopfler riff. Under clouds of birds at Kamashek, yeah, and fossils in the cliff. I could hear what had been calling in the present turning gift, all in lunar tidal lift, all in free and adrift without bounds. I could hear what had been calling, so internal in its sounds, like claps of surf that meet the earth in cardiovascular pounds. I could hear what had been calling, inside and all around. Yeah, I could hear what had been calling, down those weathered wooden docks, in the fixed net tears and the drawn cruise shares as a raucous seagulls squawk. As my sea legs walk, my rain gear swaps to clean clothes, and the surf beat rolls over all the hippie dancing toes in the bars, over all the cannery chicks and testosterone trips under hungover Catch-A-Mac stars. In the pre-opening hours, I could hear what happened calling, and that steady diesel's knock. To Tidebook's lunar clock, when the spot at the dock says you're not. I could hear what happened calling. It's what the tides of plenty send. It's in the circling, yeah, remembering the bends. Ascending to descend, anadromous the trend. I could hear what happened calling, where linguistics just don't extend. Like from crows professing Zen, in mossy old Cordova man when summertime kicks in, and half the town is postured bent in salmon-picking world, glove fingers curled like sleek orchid's teeth. And the salmon, the shine, and the smells of the sea. As the scupper holes bleed heartbeats, red clouds of gurry drifting free back into the shine, show surely a sign. I could hear what happened calling. And see lions ripping holes in my net's deceptive metaphors, all in my domineering roles. Like big winds in the lines and the boat rigging poles. And big trees in their rips just surrendered to flows. In the waves of taut thought as that cold ocean rolls. In harder and worked and stubborn goals. I could hear what had been calling, and land and sea refrains. Where titles flood and branches bud, and calling comes the rains. In that essence that remains. I could hear what had been calling. It's like the street smarts of the deep. Yeah. High seas universities, predation study majors, man, and schools for grease monkeys. Speaking metaphorically. Like the tongues of the coast. Like Astoria the host. Like pines clinking toast to living poetry. Yeah. Flesh and sea. Flooding, pouring into welcome mics. Flooding from the stage's lights, if only for a couple nights. Listen what the rage is as out within engages. As local brews and fishing crews are poetically exchanging, compositionally ranging in the harbor town charms of the coastally changing, in worn, weathered paging, salty in traces. In the colorful collections of seafaring faces, out within from open spaces, so in within its graces. In the Liberty Theater and other such places, I can hear what has been calling. Out within the ocean's mood, in within a dawning, strolling docks, Astoria, with the misty river sprawling. In wasted wise, so romanticized, I can still hear what has been calling. Have you guys been hearing it this weekend? Good. Thank you.
If you want to hear more of Steve's work, I believe, well, the Gear Shack is closed now, but in the future, just so you all know, this is a great way to support all of these artists. Many of us are also working artists. I know Steve has CDs there. A lot of folks have books up for sale and things, so next year be sure to swing by and find other ways to support all these folks.
There's also some propaganda out along the stage here. There's promotional material and some poems from Annapolis. There's somebody's business, so.
And remember, you have exactly 1 hour to finish
12 minutes.
and 12 minutes to finish your poem. Should you like to compete in the umpteenth annual poetry competition, which Mo will be hosting at 10 o'clock, do you remember what it has to include? Has to be 30 seconds maximum, so less is better. It has to include the words full moon, very good, great. The beginning, the first line, and the last line have to be
the same
but different.
But different.
Like us, did you notice?
The same,
but different. And at least 3 Bodie prepositions.
I'm confused now about what a preposition is because I feel like athwart or below. I guess is that a preposition?
Below is a preposition.
Okay.
It can be ended with a noun. It becomes a prepositional phrase, right? Below the deck.
A lee. I was thinking you could just, as the next 3 readers go, you could just pick out words that are those things and then just write them down in the order that they come. And
You
that
can
might
Mad
make
Libs it, is what we're saying, and that will
like
work
the-
fine.
That's what I was trying to do with Steve. I was like, but there's never a place to land. What else? Tip people that need tipping. Compliment people. Be kind. What? Thank you. We recognize that asking Lara and me to MC on the Liberty stage on a Saturday night on a full moon in an election year is our choice.
You guys,
So
I just want to say I have not sworn once. Yeah.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got 10 minutes now.
Take a little break. Yeah. Take a little break. You got 10 minutes.
So I'm very lucky to have Mary with us. Mary presented last night at FisherPoets Gathering. And Mary, I so enjoyed your performance. Can you tell me more about your work?
It's not really work the way I do it. They just sort of come to me and I just write them down. That's about it. And I see all these people really, really work. And I feel guilty because I'm not really, really working. But I think there's stories out there or people out there that want to be talked about or that they want to give us their stories. So I'd like to have a song about a boarding house lady up there and canneries and some women, not probably half and half, men and women, but some of the shore things as well. Mm-hmm. I think it's very important.
Well, Mary, you're lucky that those just come to you and you can share them with all of us. What would you like to share with other people about the FisherPoets Gathering and why they should come and maybe tips?
Yeah, definitely should come, and it's a great amount of fun. The weather this year is perfect. It's been snowing and icing before, but it's perfect this year. And it's just incredible history, and you have to sort of look for where stuff is because it's sort of spread out, but there's stuff in the library, stuff in probably the Maritime Museum still, I think. And down at Pier 39, there's a lot of stuff in the center part of town. It's just really great. And some of the places have food and drink as well. It doesn't get better.
Mary, anything else you want to share with us?
No, I'm just very honored to be here. I'm not really a fisher myself. I have the greatest respect. I've worked in fisheries research and have some, I lived in Newfoundland, so I got a lot of experience there. But I'm not exactly a fisher. I'm not at all. I would last 5 minutes on a boat and I'd be swept overseas even if it was calm.
Mary, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you.
Take care.